Welcome, everyone. Happy Thursday. I'm the Gray Strega, and I'm here to give you your daily collective read for today, Thursday, June 19th, 2025. What do we have coming through in the cards for today? Can I please have the first two cards in our 5-card spread? First two cards we are starting our day off with today. Wow, let's get through it. I want to talk about it, and I think that this is really important too. You will recall that we ended yesterday's reading on the Tower card. Now, one of the things I like to point out with the Tower card is I like to clear up a lot of the anxiety that we often experience when we see that card. Because, the one thing that we identify, and I almost feel like at times that the Tower card can be very, very helpful in relationality to being able to identify and see what one is trying to work upon, right? There's a lot of that space in terms of working towards what feels energetically foundational. And I'm not surprised to see the Tower card coming up right now as we start to move into Cancer season. And I feel like in a lot of the two cards that we just drew, like the two cards that we just came out with today are a lot of the continuation of yesterday's lesson, because the two cards that we're seeing here right now are the Four of Pentacles in its reversal, in combination with the Devil card. And, we're going to talk a bit about this Devil card next month, because this is the next card that we'll be studying in our tarot church classes. A lot of the work that we do in healthy spirituality is working and identifying and being able to perceive the ego. There's this misconception that we often experience in relationality to the feeling that we need to shed the ego. But the thing you have to understand is you can't ever shed your ego. It's not going anywhere. It's not going anywhere, and often, and this is the thing about it, and this is what Cancer season teaches us. Okay? Because I want you to think about it. The reason that Cancer's the lessons that we have in relationality to Cancer season are always so profound, because they often bring up how much we have changed, right? And that's the thing about it. Like we often come into those moments where we shed the ego. we shed the ego But even in the space of shedding the ego, we don't get into the space of saying, I did it. I don't have an ego anymore. It's like, right? Because it's like a soft shell crab. Like, that's not safe. Like the ego, the journey of the ego, right? The conversation that we see is we need the ego, because the ego is there to energetically protect us. Why is the ego there to protect us? Because in a perfect world, right? In a perfect world, we would not require egos, right? Because everybody would be in a space that we honor each other's standards, right? But alas, we don't exist in that modality, right? We identify and recognize that the vulnerability is a gift that we bestow upon those that are energetically worthy to receive it, right? Like, that is the gift of the self. And this is often why we talk about in healthy connections. It often feels like when we come to know one another, we reveal more to one another. We plumb the depths deeper of ourselves, right? It's the identification point that we talk about in relationality to why we describe the space of being vulnerable as almost being one that feels like we bare our souls. Because we bare our souls, right, when we feel energetically safe to do so. But it's not easy work. And a lot of the work that we see, like, this is what I meant about, and I told you, like, this is a lot of that work that we saw that was coming up during the Sagittarian full moon, because the Sagittarian full moon has a lot to do with the ability to embrace the self in all of one's facets. And that doesn't mean, right? That doesn't mean that you're trying to like push back upon the ego to such an extent that you don't have one anymore. Because often, I gotta point out, sometimes it's really like when someone says they don't, like when someone feels like they don't have an ego, like they just can't see it. You know what I mean? Like it's not about, it's like it's working into the space of being able to identify, right? It's being able to identify it. And this is what I love about Cancer season, because we can learn a lot about a healthy ego from the journey of the crab. Look at the crab, right? The shell, the carapace that we see outside the crab is not all that different from what's within it. It makes it characteristic as it relates to the creature, because it's not like a mollusk. It's not like something that looks completely different on the outside of the shell. It is the carapace that matches what's internally within. And this is often why we see that crabs go through a molting process. And why do crabs go through a molting process? They move into a space that it's vulnerable in order to change. And so I love it, because the journey that we often identify in Cancer season is a contemplation on hermit energy, right? It's a contemplation on what we need, right? The environment that we need that allows us to facilitate to become what we energetically need to become. And often that journey feels like we have the ego that we are proud of, right? And what happens when we have a healthy ego? The outside pretty much matches the inside, but it's bigger. It's bigger on the inside. There's more of it. There's just more of the same. And this is why when we heal our egos, we allow the ability of healing our relationships, because that's those modalities where another person encounters us, and what they experience, right, is very much what they're going to find the whole way through. It's like, it doesn't change all that much. In fact, it gets better, right? It's like, it's the ability of feeling that pathwork of energetic integrity by which we find the harmony of the self. And what is the harmony of the self? It is the expression of the unification of the energetic ego and the higher self. This was all of that conversation that we were having in relation to the journey of the magician. So a lot of this work that we see right now, this is the harmonization point of, and that's why it's not a negative potentially see this energy here, because this is what it feels like right now for a lot of the energy that's moving deeper into divine union. Because we also talked about the fact that when we're healing from trauma, when we're healing from things that are not in alignment to us, it feels like they distort us. It feels like we start to change, right? We start to change into things and we don't like what we're changing into, right? It's like that moment of being like, this is often why when we're in unhealthy relationships, we start feeling like we're losing a sense of ourselves, right? Because that is the modality of understanding that the expression of relationship is one that helps us sift through what isn't healthy for us in order to understand and identify what is. And so we see even now that for a lot of the energy, that work, this is why I said, like, these two cards, I want to point this out. I know it might be hard to recognize, but these two cards in combination are effectively the Temperance card, right? Because we talked a lot about the fact that the Temperance card is about sifting water between cups. And when you have to remember that when you didn't have a way to purify water, this is how you would purify water. You would move it through something, because when you move the water through something, you would be able to leave the sediment behind, right? So what does it feel like for a lot of these relationships that we're prioritizing authenticity of self, the ability to be seen, the ability to have the clarifying conversation with another, right? And articulating with one another. And even in the space of identifying something about the self that one identifies with, that another says, I got to tell you, I know you keep bringing that up. I just don't see that, right? Like, this is why it's so healthy to do the work on the self, because I keep on getting one of two different modalities that are happening right now in energetic connections. These are either situations or circumstances where someone has done the work of the self so much that something that one was working on in the self, that when another person identifies it, they say, I don't see it. Because it is the metric of success by which how far you've been able to heal it, even though it feels like it's ongoing. Or, and this is more difficult, circumstances or situations where another recognizes that they internalize something about the self that was not true, because the devastation point of trauma is trauma will have you consume things about yourself that are not true, that you have to you have to embody, like you have to internalize in order to experience, in order to persist within it. Right. And so that's why I keep on hearing a lot of the work that's happening right now is healthy sifting. Right. This is what we do in a healthy spiritual context. We don't say, oh, that was all them. Like, it's them. Right. And we also don't say, oh, it's all me. I'm the worst. Right. We sift through to find the balance point between what is actually ours to work upon, right? The journey of the self versus what is another person's projections upon us. And it's heavy, right? It's not easy stuff. And sometimes and what happens, this is why we talk about center card for today's spread. Often the first step in healing is identifying the audacity. Why do we start? Like the first thing you'll feel when you start to heal is you'll start to feel upset. You'll start to feel upset, because when you're holding yourself to a higher standard, right? And you understand and identify the work, right? Either that is the frustration at the self in the identification point of what you could wish, or you wish you had done better, or it can be the moment of saying you didn't energetically deserve something, right? It's a lot of that unpacking. But I keep on hearing the beauty of that energy right now. And I keep on seeing like the identification on that. And this is how, and this is also why knowing the self helps to heal the self, right? Because when we know ourselves well and another person starts projecting on us, we are much easier at recognizing it. Okay, it's much easier to recognize it, right? Because, it's allowing for the ability to identify and articulate upon how, like, I keep on hearing what is of us versus what is beneath us, right? And this is why I keep on hearing in healthy spaces, we don't match energy, because why would you ever match energy? Like, why would you ever match energy of all you do when you match energy is you lower an energetic standard, right? Matching energy is the song of the bar being lowered to the floor. Okay, like matching energy. Matching energy is the song of the bar being lowered to the floor. But when we identify, right, when we recognize, we simply facilitate the understanding of whether another is working towards the same goals as we are, right? And that's why I keep on seeing that the beauty of a lot of this work is healing via the identifying what is and is not a productive conversation, right? Because the productive conversation is such that I keep on, and this is what I meant. I'm going to tell you right now, I do see some energy right now coming into separation, because it says to me that, and this is what I meant in like some of this energy that we're seeing here between like the Devil card and the Eight of Pentacles. When we're identifying and recognizing what feels productive, we're able to discern, right? I keep on hearing every problem is a solution waiting to happen, right? That is where remember how we talked about the big journey between Gemini season is working through the difference between fickleness and pragmatism, which is the ability to be energetically adaptable, the ability to effectively be able to, move through things very quickly as one moves towards a manifestation goal, right? It's a lot of that practicality. But what do we identify as something that is more energetically fickle? An energetic fickle point is being too changeable, right? The changeability that can often be indicative of an aversion to being resilient upon a path. So that's why I keep on hearing that for the energy that's coming into divine union, this is like the sigh of relief, but also potentially the frustration that's being released with that sigh, because this is the energy that is moving towards one another, and they're identifying the difference between an embodied manifestation versus something that just looked like a manifestation. And this is the thing we have to understand. This is why we often talk about the importance of not getting too stuck on the appearance of things when you talk towards manifestation goals. Because walking through something is, we talk about the healthy manifestation is one that effectively allows you to see more. It allows you to be able to recognize things. But when we're in those modalities, right? When we're in those modalities, and this is how we end up in an unhealthy relationship, right? Because this is what the universe says. The universe says you see somebody and you go, I want that person. And the energy of the universe is like, you can have anything you want. How it feels to be in that, I can't, like, I can't guarantee you. Are you sure? Are you have to ask yourself, and here's the next card coming out, right? Like, exactly. Thank you. We've got our Two of Pentacles, right? Because the healthy manifestation is one that looks right, is right, feels right, right? It has both within it. It's the dual force of the self. It meets both energetic spaces. But often, and this is why we work through, this is why we talk about the act of surrender that allows us the context to help us identify what it is that we're moving towards, right? What do we mean by surrender? Surrender does not mean giving up on things. Surrendering means trusting the path work to allow itself to help you see something that you could not see before, right? And that's why the universe says, like, go ahead and give your manifestations, but if you don't hold on too much to what it is that you, in the way it might come towards you, you give the universe the ability to help surprise you. Like, it's like, and that's the thing with the universe, right? You're like, that, I want this. I'm like, okay, cool. I had this like totally cool thing down there for you, but you want that? Okay. You know what I mean? Like, it works in the context of understanding, right? It's what feels energetically right. And when we work towards the feeling of it, when we identify and recognize that, it helps us learn about the self in the process, right? And so I keep on seeing that a lot of the work that is happening, I told you there's a shift happening right now for a lot of the energy and separation, and it feels like it's moving into temperance, because these are the relationships that are prioritizing and focusing upon the feelings, but the feelings that feel energetically honored, the feelings that allow one to feel energetically nourished in the context of relationship. Fifth card in our 5-card spread for today we've got here our Fool card. And I love to see the Fool card because the Fool card is often one that I associate with Aries energy. I have a bit of a different take on the astrology of the cards. You can find, I talk a lot about it in my Tarot Church classes, so you can subscribe to over on the Substack. But a lot of the work that we see, right? And I love it too, because this is what it feels like when we're in a healthy manifestation, right? Like, lead the way. It's not really, you're not really sure what you're going to find, but you know the feeling in your heart. You know what that feeling is. And so when we know ourselves better, right? When we know ourselves better, when we know ourselves better, I keep on getting, we're not hooked on feelings. We are attuned to them. And what is the difference between being hooked on feelings versus being attuned to them. So being hooked on feelings is looking for a feeling. Okay, like it's looking for something, but not necessarily knowing what you're looking for. Like you haven't found it, right? It's a lot of that type of energy, and that can often be fickle. Okay, like that can be fickle. That can be fickle because that often, right? Like when you say to someone, "What are you looking for?" "I don't know." Okay. Well, how are you gonna recognize it? "I'll know it when I see it." What? Did you just you know what I mean? Like, you see what I mean? Like, and we just talked about the fact that the healthy manifestation is one that we understand the emotional nature by which we are seeking something. And that's often because why? We've embodied it within, right? We've arrived to that feeling within the self. So that's why when we talk about working in the service of our bliss, okay, and now we're going to talk about bliss right now, because bliss does not mean doing whatever you want whenever you feel like doing it. Okay? Like bliss, that is not bliss. Bliss is trying to do the best that one can in relationality to trying to articulate and share, like spread, as it were, to spread that feeling to those around us, right? And this is what we often do, right? This is often what we do in the context of love. What do we do in the context of love? We share our bliss, right? We share our bliss. We share our bliss with those around us because that's the space by which we're able to identify and recognize the harmony that we experience in that work. Now, this is also the conversation that we have in relationality to vulnerability, because again, this is often for a lot of the energy right now. And this is what it feels like for a lot of those relationships that are coming into fruition right now. It feels like they are following their bliss, but they're not. You have to understand this. They're not following their bliss in relationality to just throw like taking a leap of faith. This is the energy that has built the stability in one another. They're healing from the wounds of the past via the clarifying conversations, the ability to feel seen and to be seen in accordance. They're following, they're allowing the space but for their feelings to arrive. And it is the stability of the energetic feeling, the harmony that they have via those reaffirming conversations that are giving them the energetic courage to follow their bliss. This brings us to a lot of the energy right now that is coming into divine union, clarification between our Four of Pentacles in its reversal in combination with our Devil card in its upright. We've got here the Nine of Pentacles in its reversal. So what are we seeing right now with a lot of that Nine of Pentacles in its reversal? A lot of the work that we're identifying and seeing in relationality to the Nine of Pentacles in its reversal, this is a lot of that continuing effort that we identify and recognize in relationality to healing from spaces of trauma. For a lot of this energy, you'll recall we talked about the fact that these are a lot of those chariot partnerships. These are a lot of those relationships or a lot of those situations wherein we feel a lot of internal volatility, right? We always, I keep on hearing, like the thing about trauma is that it echoes through us. Like this is the problem with trauma. It's never entirely gone, right? It's never entirely gone. If trauma, I wish there was a space that I could say successfully, like, and here's the thing about it. Like there's no place that you embody, even in a healthy spiritual journey, where all your trauma just goes away. It does not like puff. It doesn't disappear, right? But how we experience it, right? How we identify it. That is how it it allows the context by which we are able to observe, we observe its volatility. We see it within us. Like, and I keep on hearing, like we arrive to it and we observe it but we're not affected by it, right? And it's that moment, and I feel like that's what I'm seeing for a lot of the energy right now that is moving deeper into divine union. And this is what we can expect with like a Pluto retrograde, because and I actually love the energy of a Pluto retrograde, because Pluto in retrograde is all about confronting the fear that we hold within ourselves, right? And often this is why the work we do, the more that we are able to confront the fear within ourselves, the more that we are able to energetically love in a way that feels safe. Because when we embody, right, here's the difficulty point with carrying fear, right? The amount that we love, when the proportion that we love is often the proportion that we hold fear, right? Because where the love is, so too arises fear. But our ability to be brave in the space of fear, we've all had those moments, right? We've had moments where someone feels like they try to articulate that they love us, but what we receive from them doesn't feel like love. It feels like something else. It feels like something that often frightens us, because when we don't heal the fear within us, and we try to love, we inadvertently project the fear we feel on that love to those that we care about. And this is something that we always need to be conscientious about. And this is why we talk about the fact that being in a healthy spiritual journey is one that we talk. I mean, we use the term shadow work, but I feel like it's about confronting. Like, I feel like it often feels much more ominous describing that word than it needs to, because it's the ability to confront the things that we worry about, right? Not in order so that we don't project them onto the things that we care about, right? And in that way, our love becomes a safe space, because we assure to others and say, I do the work of releasing the fear within, not without. I don't project them onto you. I don't give them to you to deal with, right? We work through it. It's the internal, it's like, it is the internal engine that we create within ourselves that allows that to become more of the expression of the love that we feel. And that's why I keep on hearing conversations right now between the devil and the eight of Pentacles in its upright. Yeah, there's that hangman in its reversal, right? This is why, right? And this is what I keep on seeing that's happening, that's so beautiful in a lot of these relationships. Talking about, it's good to get things off of our chest, right? Talking about the things that worry us, talking about the things that concern us. Because when we get to a space, right? When we get to a space that we can articulate our concerns rather than react to them, well, we're no longer projecting them onto others. So that's why I keep on hearing that for a lot of the energy doing that work, right? Being able to recognize, being able to identify, being able to speak from something in such a way that it feels expansive. Welcome to a lot of this, I keep on hearing, like a lot of this Mars in Virgo energy, because Mars in Virgo energy says, do not confuse weakness for vulnerability, right? Because weakness is the state by which you aren't able to be energetically strong. It takes incredible strength to be vulnerable. Why does it take incredible strength to be vulnerable? Because when you have to build all of those walls, when you have to build all of those barriers within the self, and then still you aren't impacted by the trauma, you still find the ability to be the vulnerable expression of the self. We allow for that context of being able to feel, right? That creates the strength that we see in the strength card, because the strength card is not about heavy lifting. It's working through hard feelings, right? It's overcoming our own tendencies, right? That's why we see the figure of the individual who basically looks like they're putting their hand into the mouth of the lion. Continuing to get clarification between our Eight of Pentacles in combination with our Two of Pentacles in its upright, we've got here our Wheel of Fortune in its reversal. I have to point out, we've had this Wheel of Fortune in its reversal coming up very frequently. We had it yesterday, very similar position. Yesterday, it was in the center of the spread. Here, it's still there. And this is the thing that we identify and recognize, because The wheel of fortune in its reversal has to do with the ability to, I keep on seeing, the ability to remain consistent, right? I always like to point out the cards in their reversal don't just mean the opposite of the cards. So we see right now, it is, I keep on hearing the consistency is key, because when we are consistent with ourselves, we allow for that energetic adaptability, right? We allow the context by which things are possible. So everything I keep on identifying there, it feels, I keep on saying, it feels supportive. It feels energetically reaffirming. It allows for a lot of that ability to be able to, I keep on hearing, recognize and identify where the work is. And this is why we see even now that when we talk towards manifestation goals, the healthy manifestation is not one, I keep on hearing, it's not one that you like reach for things. It's the ability to, I keep on hearing, like expand upon the self, sharing something greater, doing something in a bigger way. So everything I keep on seeing here, and I would not be surprised that this is happening for some energy right now with a little bit, and this is the thing I keep on seeing with like the Cancer energy in combination with the Aries energy. I will articulate that there is some tendency here to feel a little spread thin, okay? And if you're feeling energetically spread thin, I'm going to say I want you to focus on articulating upon what you can do in a way that will help alleviate that, right? Because everything I keep on seeing that's happening right now, particularly for energy in separation, I keep on seeing it's working through the frustration that often feels, and I keep on hearing the trauma always demands more, right? The trauma always demands more of us. But when we're able to be energetically healed, we start, I keep on hearing, we don't work into the context of fearing that we're not doing enough. We just work with, I keep on hearing, we work with determination in the way that we can, right? Because I keep on hearing, and this is the issue with a lot of that, remember when I said that the Mars and Leo energy is one that articulates that expression of compassion, right? The ability of trying to do as much as one can, right? The ability of trying to, like, compassion always can sometimes feel difficult because there always feels like there isn't enough compassion, right? There isn't enough of it. And there's a need for it everywhere. So I want you to calibrate, if you're feeling like that you're enough. Everything you can is enough, right? If you're in a modality where you're saying to yourself, I'm doing everything I can and it still doesn't feel like enough, that is often those spaces of the trauma, right? Because it's the ability to identify and recognize that when we move in that space, we do everything we can, but we don't, I keep on hearing, we don't start punishing ourselves for not being able to do more if we're doing everything in that direction. And this is what I meant in relationality to a lot of that healing that's happening, because I keep on seeing that there's a lot of energy that is recovering from energy that did not appreciate someone's everything. I'm going to say that again. I see a lot of energy in separation that is recovering from another person not appreciating someone's everything. And often when we're not in a space of energetic appreciation, right, that is the demanding relationship. That is the relationship that says, you're not, like, it's the energy that just keeps on, like, it, and that's what I meant about the difference and why I can see some energy right now going into separation, because the difference and the recognition point between, I kept on hearing boo and do, right? And what is the difference? What is the difference between boo and do, right? Boo, like, it's very easy to find flaw in things, right? It's very easy. Like, if you look for flaws, you will find flaws everywhere, right? It's like when you look for flaws, you will see flaws everywhere, right? But that's why, again, when we see flaws, we bring our solutions with them, right? The ability to be energetically pragmatic, the ability to work through something in a way that feels productive. This allows the context by which we're able to be, like, this is what allows us to find that point of productivity. And I keep on hearing that, you know, like the relationships that are coming into formation right now, like, this is why I keep on hearing that there's a lot of potential audacity that is being relieved, because another person, when we have those modalities, when we have those moments where we build into being fully seen, then often it feels like the energy that says to us, I see everything that you do, and it's deeply appreciated, right? It is that celebration. And often it brings up a lot of feelings. It's like I told you, the echo of the trauma that still resides within us that made it feel like those moments that we offered our everything to another, and another found it energetically lacking, right? That's a lot of heavy energy to work through. But this is what we talk about, and this is what we meant in relationality to making sure that we heal the ego before we move into relationship. Clarification between our Two of Pentacles and our Fool energy is, and we got two cards sticking to the bottom of the table, so we're going to pull them up. Man, these two cards right now, they were in yesterday's reading too, and they were really close to it. Yeah, these are, I got it. Make sure you pop on over to our Substack. So you take a look at the cards that we saw, because these two cards were stuck together yesterday, and they're stuck together today, right? These two cards were stuck together yesterday, and they're stuck together today, right? The healthy relationship, okay? And this is why, and this is coming through across all the frequencies, right? The healthy relationship is one that honors the standards that we hold towards it, right? The beauty of the healthy relationship is one that we feel like the relief, because we don't have to hold our standards all the time, because we feel the security of another who holds it for it. But the unhealthy relationship is one that punishes us for having them in the first place, right? It's like, it's the energy that says, you got to get rid of these things. They're in the way. And this is why I keep on hearing, this is why we have an ego, right? Because we wouldn't need an ego if everybody held our standards. Okay? We wouldn't need an ego if everybody held our standards. It would be great. But alas, this is what we find in the space of choice, right? The ability to, the healthy manifestation is one that is mutually shared. And that ability of doing so, right? And the irony of it is, when we're in a space that is comfortable for us, when we articulate our standards, it almost feels silly, because it's like another person that says, obviously, why would I know? It's the energy that, like, I keep on seeing. It's like the obviousness of a standard that's held. But that's often in those moments when we experience that we suddenly realize what we're healing from. Because often in the articulation of a standard that another person says, obviously, and then they go, why would you have to say that? It's the understanding of the fact that a standard, right? The reason we have a standard is because when another person pushes back on a standard, it has to become a boundary, right? And this is the difference, right? This is the difference between weakness and vulnerability. The ability to identify that our vulnerability is a gift, and it's a gift that we give to those that are energetically worthy to receive it. So this is why we do that work, right? We do a lot of that. We take our time. We take the time, and this is why I keep on hearing too, when we're building into relationship, never are we in more danger than we say, let's just see where this goes. Because when we say, let's just see where this goes, that it's very possible that one person wants to go this way and the other person wants to go that way. And now you've got an energetic connection and you got two energies trying to pull in different connections. And now you got a karmic issue happening, right? So a lot of the work that I keep on seeing right now has to do with and this is often like, this is what happens when we got a lot of Cancer energy coming up, a lot of feelings there, right? The feelings beneath the surface, right? The unconscious space. But I like to see the sixth and the seventh swords together, because it says to me, it's understanding that the thing that separates you from yesterday is who you are today, is all I keep on hearing. The thing that separates you from yesterday is who you are today. And a lot of that energy, this is why I keep on seeing that this is the energy that I almost hear the energy collectively saying, I'm stronger now, because it's that space of strength that we often feel like, I feel like it's working through a vulnerability to such an extent that we understand and identify that the healing of the journey of healing is effectively becoming stronger in the sense of self. Continuing to get clarification between our Nine of Pentacles in its reversal in combination with our Hangman card. We've got here our King of Pentacles in its upright. Now this is some very lovely stuff that we're seeing. Now remember, you'll recall that we talked a bit yesterday about the difference, the masculine and feminine experiencing this energy right now. And a lot of it has to do, again, with that Mars moving into Virgo. For feminine energy, I keep on seeing that there was a lot of feminine energy on the table yesterday. You can go ahead and go back to that reading to see it. And so that's why we see that for a lot of the feminine energy doing this work right now, it is healing from others' expectations by being able to embrace the self in all of one's facets, right? And that's why, again, when another person, like, and I keep on hearing, it has to deal and navigate with working through another, like, and I keep on hearing, like, when someone says to us, I'm really disappointed in you, it's often the conversation that leads to the next question that says, what were you expecting? Is what I keep on hearing, right? Because that's the energy that articulates and identifies the space of understanding that we don't, I keep on hearing, we don't expect things of each other. We should celebrate one another, right? And when we come into the modality of expectation, right, that is often an energetic projection, right? Because so long that ability of doing so, right, like that ability of being able to identify and articulate, I keep on seeing that this is the energy of the feminine that is not feeling like that is the work that often happens. And we keep on hearing, like, the work of the feminine, unfortunately, when it comes about the healing path, is feeling like the song you will hear is often, you're disappointing me. But the disappointment that we often hear is the understanding and the recognition of what another person is trying to project upon us. Because I keep on hearing, it's not about expectations, it's about celebrations, right? And that's the celebration of the self. And that's why I keep on hearing the feminine exists in a space that when they feel energetically celebrated, when they're doing everything they can, and the energy feels seen in the space that they're doing everything that they can, and they feel energetically motivated to do more, right? It's not coming through by way of a demand. It's coming through by way of, like, encouragement. You know what I mean? It comes by way of encouragement. It's like, it comes by way of, like, cheering. You know what I mean? Like, it feels less, I keep on hearing, you hear cheers, you hear cheers instead of hearing like the frustrations. And so that's what I keep on seeing that's happening right now. But this is hard for a lot of the feminine energy that's working through that, particularly because, and this is what we identify, and this is often the difficulty point that we recognize, the same quality that the feminine tries to find, right? The ability of being multifaceted, the ability of doing different things. For masculine energy, if masculine energy does that, they're celebrated for it. Like the masculine energy is like, look at them being all cavalier. Like it's a lot of that energy of, it's a lot of the masculine that is encouraged to be in that modality, right? But this is why we see, and that's why I keep on seeing that for a lot of the masculine energy, what do we see that the masculine energy is doing right now to help the feminine through those hurdles? They're also working on being energetically supportive, right? You remember when I said that there was a lot of masculine energy yesterday that was reading into the space of actively listening, right? Because this is the masculine that understands and recognizes, like in the space of being able to articulate upon the feelings, right? This is a lot of that energy that is doing that work that I keep on hearing the reshaping the perception of masculine in the process, because this is a masculine that says feelings are not anthemic to being a masculine. Right? And when we don't learn how to express our feelings rule us, because when we feel them and we try to suppress them, we never learn how to get stronger within them. So I just keep on seeing that for a lot of the masculine energy, finding like there's a frustration that comes through. And this is also the frustration of the masculine healing from their trauma, because it is the energy that I almost hear the masculine energy looking at their emotions and looking at the things that they were given to try to work through them and saying, I never had a chance, right? Like I never had a chance, because again, right? Like when someone's like, what do I do with these emotions? Put them in a box. What do I do with these emotions? Don't feel them, right? You never get the chance of being stronger in them. You never learn how to do, like, you don't take the homework and throw it in a corner. That's not somebody helping you. That's someone teaching you something. That's teaching someone to disassociate does not help one to have the tools that they need that allows them to be able to do so. And that's why I keep on hearing, what is the masculine saying to feminine right now? Be patient with me. Be patient with me. I'm just getting a hang of this. Like this is a lot of inner child healing. And this is what's so hard for masculine, is being able to come back and like get that emotional space and start to learn how to communicate in that way. It's so difficult because I keep on hearing it's like masculine that understands that they're almost starting in the space of training wheels, right? Continuing to get clarification. But this is what we meant in relationality to temperance lessons. And this is what I like to see in relationality, the fact that there's a lot of energy in separation right now. We're moving into temperance, because that's the hanged man with the wheel of fortune. And clarification, in its reversal, clarification, the lovers. The journey of love is not one that requires one to be perfect. It's knowing how one is, right? It's knowing how one is. Because when we are there is no greater gift that we can give to a counterpart than our self-awareness. Because when we are self-aware, it's not that we have to be perfect in every experience, but we can prepare another to help us through. We become each other's training wheels, right? But you cannot be a training wheel for another if you aren't able to admit that there's something that you need, if you aren't able to recognize and identify and articulate what the work is. So I just keep on seeing that, like, I like a lot of this temperance energy that we see, that the energy in separation is arriving to, because this is the energy that is working on the awareness of the self, understanding that that awareness is the gift that we offer another in partnership. No greater gift can you bring to the door of the counterpart than an understanding of the self, because this is the energy that says, here, I don't need you to try to figure me out. I'm also not here to help you help me figure me out. I've already done the work. I've already done the work. I know how I am. And here, I'm going to tell you how I am too. So that way we can help each other move through lessons with more ease, right? Helping us get to where we're trying to go. And that becomes the energy of the counterpart, because the counterpart, again, the temperance energy, which is often connected to the lovers, says that we don't need to be each other's perfect for something to work. We just need to know what it is that we're working on and then be able to help one another with it. Continuing to get clarification between our Wheel of Fortune in combination with our Six of Swords and our Seven of Swords, and it's upright. We've got our Ace of Cups. I like it. So again, I like this because there's a lot, I know it doesn't look like this, but there's a lot of temperance energy in this reading today, because look, you take the cups, you put the lovers together. What do you got? You got temperance energy. Okay. You got temperance energy, which is saying we help each other with the work that we do, and it requires reciprocity. Right? Which is not the energy. When we don't do the work on the self, when we feel like we don't know ourselves and we come into partnership, we open the door and we see another person and we say, help me. It's like, help me, which is like, we can't help each other on that journey. It's not our, if you don't know who you are, I can't help you with that. But when we know ourselves, right? And sometimes, but we've all been, and often this is what we see, often, and this is often what we taught, and this is why you'll remember that these energies right now are doing that work, because we're like these three cards in combination, right? The King of Pentacles, the Lovers, and the Ace of Cups speaks towards, right? It speaks towards the gift that we bring to each other when we're energetically complete. Because when we're not energetically complete, we may say we want something. We may have a manifestation, but we're not moving and we're not embodying the manifestation, right? It's a lot of that energy that says, I don't know why I'm not finding it. Even though it's like that ability of articulating that you want something, but you're not doing anything. You're not doing anything. You're not doing anything that requires one to do it in order to embody it, right? You have to be in that space. Or simultaneously, we also have those modalities where, again, we work through something. We identify and articulate when we're too fickle, right? So that it's a difference when we say we want something, but we're too energetically adaptable, because we again, change for change's sake is not a manifestation goal. And that's that moment that we say, I changed my mind, I changed my mind, I changed my mind, I changed my mind. And like it, the energy of the counterpart like goes haywire in the space that they can't keep up with all of the changing manifestations. So what we effectively see is, this is why I keep on hearing that the shift that's happening right now for the energy and separation is to temperance, that says, right, if I know my business and you know your business, then we can be together, because we unify that energetic work, right? We are able to identify, and that's not the energy that's the energy that doesn't feel like they're leaning on each other. It feels like they're working together, right? They're working through their imperfections. They're identifying what it is that they need to get better at. And so that's why it feels like, I keep on hearing, the temperance relationship is one that focuses on the bliss that is created as it relates to the productivity of the self, and the productivity that the gift of the self, and recognizing who the self is, identifying what one is working on, makes it easier to allow for that calibration to occur. So I see even now, like, that's beautiful, because I feel like this is the energy that's like, no more of this energy saying, like, what are you looking for? I don't know. I'm looking for a relationship. What kind of relationship? Like, no shrugging is what I keep on hearing. Continuing to get clarification between King of Pentacles and its Lover's card. Yep, we've got here our Page of Wands, right? Because when we are stable, we cannot do inner child healing unless we are stable. Because if you go into inner child healing and you're not stable, you know, you're never, you can't do it, right? You can't do it. You can't be vulnerable if you're not with someone who's energetically stable. Like you don't, if you're not, if another person, and that's the thing, sometimes we have those moments, you know, where you can't, we are vulnerable where we are energetically comfortable. And often, like the difficulty point is, and I keep on hearing, it is the demands that we make upon each other rather than the appreciation of what we have for one another, right? And this is why I keep on hearing every relationship is unique. We don't demand more of it. And that's often what breaks a healthy relationship, when we start making unreasonable demands towards it. And this is why I told you I could see some energy moving into separation right now, because it's a lot of that. What do you want from me? Right? It's a lot of that. It's a lot of that. And this is sometimes what happens, right? Because if we are not stable in relationality to our manifestations, and we change too much, then it often can create the frustration in the counterpart that feels like, I keep on hearing, like, feels like they go through those whiplash moments of having to you know, move back and forth between things. But when we're working on that together, right, like, it feels more, like I keep on hearing, it feels like constructive. It feels like critique. It feels like energetic support. So this is why I think it's wild right now, because there's energy that's coming into divine union that is so good at this. You're going to love this. There's energy right now. These are the chariot relationships that are so self-reliant. They're so good at this that they're working on healing vulnerability by learning how to receive support from one another. Remember I told you that these were chariot partnerships? So these chariot partnerships, they're very self-reliant, right? But this is why I told you that they're working to, like, let go of those, they're letting those boundaries down so that they become standards. And what happens in the space that we're letting another hold our standards? I hear the energy saying it's okay to ask for things. Is what I keep on hearing. It's okay to ask for things is what I keep on seeing. So this is how the chariot energy is moving deeper into partnership. They're learning how to ask for things. They're finding the ability to communicate, and it's hard. I see the energy going. And why? Because the energy's like, in the space of asking for something, they're healing inner child wounds, especially if these were the chariot relationships where there was a lot of self-reliance. Because what happens? Why were they in chariot relationships? Because chariot relationships are healing from traumas that made them feel like they had to do everything themselves, is what I keep on hearing. Continuing to get clarification between our Lover's card and our Ace of Cups. We have here our Page of Swords in its upright. So there's a lot, I feel like there's a lot of this energy that I'm identifying right now. And the thing about it, and I want to describe, and I want to show you what's happening here. And I like this because this is showing me a lot of the work that's happening deep within divine union, right? And I do want to show it to you because I feel like it's going to show you the difference between masculine and feminine energy right now. Bearing in mind, this is not based on gender, but what one feels most aligned to. We've got our Page of Wands here in its reversal and our Page of Swords. And this is the difficulty point as it relates to, I keep on hearing, there are conversations deep within divine union right now that are happening in relationality to the nature of equality, is what I keep on hearing. And why do we see that there's conversations in relationality to the equality? Because you have to remember that this is and I need to point this out. When we are working towards balance, we understand and recognize that masculine and feminine have to go through journeys of healing in different ways. And this is why it's very unhealthy to project a dynamic, especially when we use the word like all, right? Like all men are like this. Like when you say all men are like this, guess what? You've become a part of the problem, right? Because you're entering something already carrying a whole cynicism to an entire energetic union, right? You can't be saying that you're trying to move towards divine union, be like, men are awful. And then and similarly, if you can't like as a masculine, you can't go towards feminine and be like Mormon, right? You can't say I want divine feminine, like I want to be in in divine union with divine feminine, but all feminine energy is like this, right? Because you're already, and that is when you've allowed the trauma to inform you, right? You're not approaching something with a state of hopefulness. But that's why when we're in healthy paradigms, we understand the challenges that we each experience, right? And for feminine, like this is a lot of the journey of the feminine that looks towards masculine and says, it's unfair. If I move as you do, if I prioritize the self, if I move towards my dreams, others will say I am failing at my roles, right? This is the tragedy of being in the feminine experience. When you move towards your dreams, the sound you will hear is you are failing at your roles, right? That is the architecture by which the feminine needs to move, right? It's the energy of the feminine that has to come to terms with the fact that the song they will hear as they move towards their dreams is the energy saying, you're really failing at your role here. You're really failing at your role because it's others' projections of them that say, this is what I expect of you, right? And for masculine, this is the masculine that looks to the feminine and says, I am in a modality where I cannot express my emotions, because when I'm told that I express my emotions, then I'm told I'm acting like a child, right? So this is the masculine that heals and says, this is the identification of the difficulty of the work right now, that why it brings out different qualities and characteristics in masculine and feminine energy, bearing in mind this is not based on gender. And this is the masculine that says, and this is the energy of the audacity. This is the masculine that says, it's not fair that I'm finally understanding that the thing I should have been doing is learning how to work through with something. Everyone was just telling me to suppress, because when you suppress something, you don't learn how to get stronger at it. So this is the energy that says, I feel ill prepared to navigate the emotional challenges because I was taught instead of experiencing something, I should just stomp it down, right? That's not something that allowed me to be able to be strong. So that's the energy of the masculine, working through a lot of the energetic trauma of that unfairness. This is a lot of the feminine that's working through the energy that says, why is it every time I try to follow my dream, it's others articulating that I'm not fitting their role? Because that's the feminine saying, when others say you're not fitting a role, that's another person's projection towards you. So we see even now that a lot of that energy, what are they doing? They're supporting each other. They're holding each other's frustrations for one another, right? They're not articulating that one is better or worse. They see each other with clarity. Because when we love one another, we don't look at each other and say, it's harder for me. We say, I see what you hold, and it's not easy. Final card for today's spread is, we have here our 7 of Cups in its reversal, right? And this is having to do with the beauty of healthy partnership. And what does a healthy partnership say? I see you. I see you. Right. And it is the gift of being seen. I want you to see the 3 cards that we see right now in the relationships, like in the space of divine union. Right. We've got this beautiful seam that runs throughout this reading today. The 8 of Pentacles with the Lover's card and the 7 of Cups. I see how hard you work. Like, right. This is the energy. This is the energy of the expression. Like this is the ability, this is the clear mirror, right? Because when we're, and this is how, and I keep on hearing, how can you tell the difference between a projection and a reflection? You can often identify a projection because someone will say, you're not fitting the role. You're not fitting the role. You're not fitting the role. This isn't a bakery, right? The projection is often another saying, you're not serving what I expect you to serve in the experience that I demand of you. But when we're in a healthy relationship, it's not about roles. There are no roles in healthy relationship. We arrive to the counterpart in the way that is energetically needed. And it is the song of being seen, right? It is the energy that says, I see what you do. I see how hard you work. I see the difficulties you carry. I see the burdens. I understand that you may be carrying and working on something completely different, but I see your struggle, and your struggle is my reality, because that is what we see with Mars in Virgo, the struggle that is made real. But it is the struggle that is made real in the ability of not demanding more from one another within it, but holding each other dearly throughout it. Bottom of the deck on this reading, especially with the Five of Wands in its reversal, right? Often, like, this is where, like, and a lot of it comes through as it relates to the relationship or the rationality point of the healthy energetic connection, right? Because it is the definition of compassion. It is the articulation upon that experience by which, I keep on hearing, we do what we can, right, in any modality, and we feel celebrated by those that say your everything is enough, right? It is the reaffirming of the self that helps us feel that the encouragement to continue forward. But this is often what feels like it's energetically debilitating, because we often experience trauma when we're doing everything we can and another person is demanding more, right? Like and that's often why and sometimes that is the nature of an energetic relationship, right? This is why I keep on hearing when we work through problems, right? We don't work through our problems and give the problem to the counterpart to solve. We come towards it with our solutions, right? We identify what can be easier, right? It's not, I keep on hearing, it's not leaning on each other. It's rising to the energetic challenge. And we rise to the challenge by first doing what? Articulating our needs. Because I keep on hearing, but that is hard because often trauma makes it difficult to express it. Like, you got to clear that throat chakra. That is our daily collective read for today. I want to thank you so much for being here and experiencing these messages. Just a reminder, if you would like to book a private reading with me, you can book one on my site. Please keep in mind, if you book a private reading with me, it is a 2-step process. You have to book the reading, you have to pay for the reading. Please make sure you do both if you'd like to have that reading. Most importantly, please remember that I will never, ever, 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 ever reach out to you for a private reading. I will never DM you. I will never PM you. I will never slide into your inbox and tell you that I have a very important message that only I can deliver. The only way you can book a reading with me is if you book one on my site. So I would encourage you to do it there. Also, a couple of updates before we move into personal readings today. First and foremost, I'd like to thank everyone who attended our recent class on the Temperance card. The next class we will be teaching will be held on Wednesday, July 16th. And we will be focusing our studies on the Devil card. If you would like to become a part of that tarot class program, all you need to do is head on over to my Substack and become a paid subscriber. Your paid subscription to my Substack is your ticket of entry into our live classes each and every month. You will also, as a monthly subscriber, have access to over 9 hours worth of material in the Tarot Church Library Archive. Now, it's not necessary to catch up. I'll be doing my best to give you a recap on the classes, but if you wanted to catch up, now's a great time to join. You'd have lots of classes between now and the next class. You'll also have access to a one-on-one chat with me and the other students to ask any questions you may have in relation to anything we are studying or have studied thus far. And if you become a founding member to my Substack, not only will you receive a discount on the full year's worth of classes, you will also receive full access to the entirety of the Tarot Church Library Archive. That is access to over 15 hours worth of material in an ever-expanding library. You will also have access to, if you choose to receive it, a complimentary one-on-one mentorship class with me, where I will meet with you personally to assess where you are on your own personal tarot journey and give you the best insights in terms of how to utilize those classes to the best of your advantage towards your personal tarot goals moving forward. One of the things I tried to do in these classes was make them accessible to the absolute novice tarot reader as well as the seasoned reader. There's definitely something there for everyone. Don't let your lack of experience or your robust experience prevent you from joining us in these classes. And even if you don't become a paying subscriber to my Substack, I would encourage you to follow me there to stay up to date on any new offerings or services. I also post my weekly newsletter there, which will let you know about my in-person events and my online live schedule. I also post my Mystic Meditation articles there. I just wrote one to help you navigate this recent full moon in Sagittarius most effectively. I also want to let you guys know that on top of my standard life path readings, I also offer mentorship classes. So these are for any of my clients that are seeking a more personalized educational experience with me. I take a very limited number of students for this reason, as those classes are focused on each individual's personal spiritual goals and journey work. I also offer for those who are seeking more consistent weekly tarot support, weekly tarot insight packages. That is a package of 4 30-minute readings, again, weekly or bi-weekly as your schedule permits, so that you can stay more consistent on your personal journey. I'm also very happy to now offer dream interpretation readings. You can purchase these per dream or as a series. If you purchase the series, I would encourage you to start to keep a dream journal, as we will meet weekly or bi-weekly with that journal and utilize the tarot to understand the key themes and messages coming towards you in the dream space. I want to thank you guys so much for being here today and sharing in these messages, and we will do this again